No DQ Galaxy, happy Friday the 13th. We are on the eve of WWE's Saturday night's main event, the return of our Saturday night obsession. Shout out to everybody watching this, whether it's live or on demand. I very much appreciate your viewership and support. Now, let's get into this recap of SmackDown. We kicked off the show with Jimmy Uso, who of course suffered a broken toe at Survivor Series War Games. He came to the ring with a crutch. This show was in Hartford, Connecticut. WWE what WWE did was they taped two shows. Next week's SmackDown will be taped because WWE wanted to give the superstars time off for the holidays. It is what it is. As we know, December is a little bit of a slow period in WWE as we come up on the holidays. And then after the new year, that's when business starts to pick up. We had Jimmy Uso cutting this promo. Now, for whatever reason, maybe because they started taping SmackDown early, this is something they've been doing the last couple months. When they do these double shots, the first SmackDown, which airs live or is supposed to air live, is actually on a slight tape delay. Maybe because they started so early, people were still entering the building. I could see a bunch of empty seats when Jimmy was cutting his promo, and it was quiet. It was surprisingly quiet beyond a few yeet chants, and he had to remind people that he's not Jay. He did talk about War Games, but he doesn't really know what's next, although he did tease some plans, maybe going after the WWE Championship. Then all of a sudden, Drew McIntyre showed up and laid him out with a Claymore out of nowhere. Nick Aldis, the general manager, and officials came down to get Drew McIntyre out of the ring. It was a solid opening segment. Drew McIntyre targeting the bloodline. He went after Zayn. Now he's going after Jimmy Uso. He went after Jay. Backstage, we had Nia Jax and Candice LeRae giving a pep talk to Tiffany Stratton for her Women's United States Championship match. Then we had Bianca Belair and Naomi meeting up with Nick Aldis. Aldis brought up how the Jade Cargill mystery attacker investigation was still going, said that they were going to have to relinquish the titles, but then Bianca asked for them not to. And then Naomi stepped up to the plate, said she would fill in for Jade Cargill, and Nick Aldis said he'll look into it. Of course, he's got a higher up he has to answer to, but he said he'll see about making it happen. Then he went off to speak with Drew McIntyre. So we'll see what happens with Drew if he ends up on SmackDown. We had our Women's United States tournament match. Tiffany Stratton versus Michin. Tiffany took control early on with a stomp on the apron, then went for another one after the commercial break, but Michin was able to move out of the way. Michin then built up momentum for a bit. Then Tiffany regained the upper hand, and match was pretty solid. Unfortunately, they screwed up pretty big for the ending here. You had Tiffany going for her moonsault, and what was supposed to happen was Michin was supposed to roll out of the way, and Tiffany would miss the moonsault. But Michin rolled the wrong way. She rolled towards Tiffany, and Tiffany connected with the moonsault, which wasn't supposed to happen. And since it wasn't supposed to happen, they just acted like it didn't connect. Michin popped right back up, hit her finishing move, and got the win. Very unfortunate that this got screwed up at the end. Michin wins. Happy for her. But yeah, it was a bit of a bummer how this played out. We'll talk about the other match here in just a few moments. Shout out to Michael, who sent in a $2 super chat. In the words of Jacob Fatu, Aaron, I love you. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. I could also read that like brother love if I wanted to, but I'm not going to even try to do an impersonation of brother love. I just will not go there. We had a DIY black and white vignette, which I thought was cool. It resembled the old NWO black and white promos, and Gargano said he was pissed about them losing the tag team titles in Cleveland, his hometown. He vowed to right the wrongs of that and brought up how Motor City Machine Guns basically took their spot. It was a solid little promo here. I liked it. Little vignette. Speaking of vignettes, we had a Roman Reigns vignette. Him and Paul Heyman. Heyman was in the background. Roman Reigns basically issued the challenge, not on SmackDown, but the premiere of Monday Night Raw on Netflix. He challenged Solo Sikoa, Tribal Chief versus Tribal Chief, leave the Bloodline factions in the back, one-on-one tribal combat for the Ula Fala. It is official. They're going big for the Raw premiere on Netflix. Does Roman Reigns just flat out beat Solo and that's the end of it? Or do we get something bigger? Is this where The Rock shows up and finally reveals that he was pulling the strings all along with Solo Sikoa's bloodline? One can only hope. If The Rock doesn't get involved here, then I don't know what's going to happen. But my hope, this is just me fantasy booking, and some people might like it, some people might not, but what I'd like to see is The Rock show up, attack Roman Reigns, take the Ula Fala. Maybe Roman Reigns even wins, but then The Rock shows up and says, well, looks like I got to take control here. Yes, I was the one responsible for everything. Then The Rock says he's going to the Royal Rumble and he's taking that world championship from Cody Rhodes. Beats Cody Rhodes at the Rumble, and then it's Rock versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Roman wins the Rumble, gets the title match with Rock at Mania. That's what I would do. To me, that's the absolute biggest storyline you can do for WrestleMania. John Cena should be going for Gunther or something like that. Not going for the world title that Cody has, unless they do Cody versus Cena, which they could end up doing. But that's what I hope happens, and I don't know if it's going to happen. We'll find out January 6th, Raw's premiere on Netflix. We had Legado del Fantasma venting to Nick Aldis backstage. I guess we're getting a tease that they might go to Raw. They said maybe they're better off with Adam Pearce. Then we had Carmelo Hayes versus a mystery opponent who turned out to be Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman was the mystery opponent. And this was surprisingly a very quick match. Carmelo really could not get any momentum. Then he came off the top. Strowman caught him, hit him with the power slam, and beat him very quickly. Is this a burial of Carmelo Hayes? Well, there's more to this on SmackDown next week. Spoilers should be up by the time most of you are watching this over on NoDQ.com if you want to know the follow-up to Carmelo and Braun Strowman. But here, Strowman got a very easy win over, I guess you could call him an unprepared Carmelo. Shout out to Building Nexus, who sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, hopefully Saturday night's main event isn't spoiled due to a taped show. To my understanding, it's not. They basically taped matches that have nothing to do with Saturday night's main event. For instance, there's a Motor City Machine Guns match. There's a 6-man tag team match. Stuff that has nothing to do with what happened at, or what's going to happen at Saturday night's main event. They'll probably have a few backstage promos that the live crowd did not see that they'll throw in for next week. And then we'll have our matches that really had nothing to do with Saturday night's main event. LA Knight was backstage, and he talked about how the whole Bloodline family can go to hell. He was just focused on Solo Sikoa. He called the Ula Fala the Ufa Lafa, and said the only one who's even worth a damn in the group is Jay. We had Solo Sikoa versus LA Knight. Solo tried to cut a pre-match promo. LA Knight interrupted him right away. And then he set Solo into the steel steps, got him back in the ring. Solo got the upper hand for a while, hit the Samoan drop. Then LA Knight regained the upper hand. Then they ended up on the outside of the ring. LA Knight went for a dive to the outside. Tama Tonga took the bullet for him, shielded Solo. Then Solo took out LA Knight with the spinning Solo on the announce table. Then after the commercial break, Solo got a little too arrogant. He mocked the Roman Reigns taunt, went for the Superman punch. LA Knight avoided it. And then LA Knight went for the BFT. Solo escaped to the outside. New Bloodline tried to distract LA Knight. He went after them. And then he took Jacob Fatu and sent him over the announce table. He got Solo back in the ring, came off the top of the flying elbow. Solo was able to kick out of that. But then, just as maybe LA Knight was going to finish off Solo, Jacob Fatu emerged from under the announce table, got back in the ring, attacked LA Knight, causing a disqualification. Then he gave LA Knight the hip attack into the barricade. We had Andrade and Apollo Crews coming down. It was a 3-on-1 attack. So the good guys were not able to get the upper hand, but they will face off in a 6-man match on next week's SmackDown. Like I said, it has nothing to do with Saturday night's main event. So that's one of the matches that will be on next week's show. Again, you'll be able to read the spoilers if you want to over on NoDQ.com. This was what it was. They wanted to protect LA Knight. He just lost the U.S. title at Survivor Series. You have to protect Solo leading into the match with Roman Reigns. So this is what they came up with, and they set up a 6-man for next week, which that match, LA Knight will probably lose. I don't know the spoiler result, so I'm not spoiling anything, but my guess is Bloodline will win that one. With Apollo in the match, I mean, come on. We know how that's going to go. Backstage, Braun Strowman, who is now officially part of SmackDown. He was, I guess, the first person officially traded in this little superstar shakeup that's going on here. Braun Strowman was approached about being in Pretty Deadly, the musical, but he turned them down. Then Austin Theory and Grayson Waller pitched Grayson Waller effect with Braun Strowman. Strowman did agree to be part of the show, and that's taking place on next week's SmackDown. I wonder if Strowman will get festive for the holiday season. You'll have to find out next week. That might have been a little spoiler, but I'm not going to say anything else. I do know that much, but I don't know the full spoilers for next week right now as I'm doing the stream. Strowman on SmackDown, it's fine. You know, it's the B show. Strowman is being pushed. So if he's on Raw, he's got to deal with likely Roman Reigns and maybe even Cody Rhodes too. So he might as well be on the B show at this point. Hey, if Gunther gets moved over, they can do Gunther versus Braun Strowman at some point. Wouldn't shock me if that's a future world title match. Anyways, we had Bayley versus Chelsea Green in another United States semifinal match. They kept exchanging near falls right off the bat. Piper Niven was getting involved. She tripped Bayley, but Bayley was able to regain the upper hand. She suplexed Chelsea on the floor, got her back in the ring, but then Chelsea regained the upper hand, hit her with the Rough Rider. Bayley was able to kick out of that. Then Bayley went up top. Piper managed to pull Chelsea to the outside to save her from the elbow. So Bayley took out Piper Niven with the elbow instead. Then Chelsea sent Bayley into the barricade. Bayley barely beat the 10 count. Of course she did. Everybody beats the 10 count. And then Chelsea immediately hit her with a knee and then finished her off with the unprettier to score what some might say the upset victory over Bayley. It is official. Chelsea Green versus Michin in the final to crown the first women's United States champion. There you go. Chelsea Green very well may win it. She won the poll on NoDQ.com, who should be the first women's U.S. champion. She won it by over 50% with like 8 or 9 people listed. So she is the sentimental favorite, the internet favorite, and we'll see what happens if she gets the title and WWE goes all the way with pushing her. Match was all right. It had a few botches here and there, but it was solid. We had a Motor City Machine Gun video package. Now, I liked the black and white one from earlier. It had the NWO vibes, but then they did the same exact thing here. They should have had DIYs just be black and white to give it that uniqueness. So I wasn't as much of a fan of this promo also being in black and white, but they talked about how Johnny Gargano wasn't the same guy they knew, and then they issued the challenge. I think it's a singles match. I think it's Alex Shelley versus Gargano for next week's SmackDown. Again, has nothing to do with Saturday night's main event, so doesn't really spoil anything. We had a Nakamura video package. He talked about how LA Knight was just the beginning. Nakamura said he is inevitable, and he has something going on for next week's SmackDown. Once again, nothing to do with Saturday night's main event. Nia Jax approached Tiffany Stratton backstage, said it was a tough night. It happens. Maybe not everyone is cut out to be a singles champion like Nia Jax. Candice LeRae then revealed that her and Nia will have a tag team title match against Bianca and Naomi on next week's SmackDown. And then Tiffany Stratton was left there looking at her United States, or not United States, her Money in the Bank contract. So they're continuing to tease that. Now, perhaps something with that will happen on Saturday night's main event. We'll have to see if she's out there with the briefcase at the taping or not. We had our final segment of the evening. Michael Cole hosting the final words exchange, whatever you want to call it, between Cody Rhodes, the WWE Undisputed Champion, and Kevin Owens, but Owens did not show up. So Cody started talking. Michael Cole asked about the gift that Triple H gave to Cody, which we're all thinking is the Winged Eagle. Some people think it's the Stardust costume, but seriously, it's the Winged Eagle. Kevin Owens interrupted from his car wearing a Stardust t-shirt, and he talked about, once again, how Cody had his friends help him win the title, only to team up with Roman Reigns and spit in everyone's faces. Said that Cody was just as bad a friend as a son and brother. and then said that Cody was way more interesting as Stardust. Cody had enough. He doesn't like being called Stardust, so he got out of the ring and went to the backstage area towards the parking lot, but he got jumped by Kevin Owens. They brawled all the way back into the ring, and they had another pull-apart brawl. WWE loves these pull-apart brawls. Let them fight. Let them fight. Officials are holding back Cody, and while this was happening, Kevin Owens took the cheap shot using Cody's World Championship, hit him in the face, and then laid the title over Cody's lifeless body to end the final segment of SmackDown prior to Saturday night's main event. Went down about exactly as I expected. KO gets the last laugh, so that should make it more apparent that Cody's retaining. I don't think there was really any chance of Owens winning to begin with, but some people were maybe, in a way, holding out hope, wanting to see a title change. I do not think it is going to happen. All in all, I thought SmackDown was solid. Not great, though. It was by the numbers for the most part. We did have a few more matches and segments to build up Saturday night's main event and set up the Raw on Netflix. So you had that. I would go with a B-. Not bad, but I've definitely seen better SmackDowns this year. The taped one will probably be okay, but I'm not expecting anything too significant with it being the Christmas-themed edition of SmackDown. 2 weeks, things should start to pick up as we head into the Raw Netflix premiere. But yeah, next week, not expecting a whole lot. Thank you guys for watching tonight. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give this stream a thumbs up on YouTube. Tell a friend. Spread the word about NoDQ.com. I will have live results coverage over on NoDQ. And then after the show, I will be back with a recap. Saturday night, our Saturday Night Obsession is back. So make sure you guys tune in for that. See you Saturday night. Say yes to NoDQ.com. And I will see you all next time.